This is section 3.3 called the factor theorem. We're going to look at some graphs, which we've looked at in the past, and this is a cubic. And we're going to look in particular this time at x-intercepts. And we notice that there are 3 here. Now, we have already looked at some concepts such as end behavior. We've looked at the y-intercept. We've looked at positive and negative leading coefficients. But now I want to look at the relationship between x-intercepts and factors. If I tell you that x plus 2 is a factor, then what that means is if I set it equal to 0, then x equals negative 2 is an x-intercept. Similarly, if I give you x minus 1 as a factor, then if I say x equals 1, when I solve it, x equals 1 is an x-intercept. So that's the relationship between factors and x-intercepts. And we're going to learn strategies on how to find the x-intercepts without giving a graph. So the factor theorem basically says if you have a polynomial, any kind of polynomial, it could be a cubic, a quartic, a quintic. If I know that x minus a is a factor, then when I sub in the value of a into the polynomial, I should get out the value 0. So let's try a couple and see if it works. So I have a polynomial that's a cubic, the exponent is a 3. I want to see if x minus 1 is a factor. So if x minus 1 is what I'm testing, set it equal to 0, solve it, and you get 1. Plug that 1 into the polynomial wherever you see an x. So I'm going to write it down, plugging 1 into the value for x. And when you work it out, just doing some algebra, you get 1 minus 3 minus 4 plus 12. When you add up and subtract all your terms, you get 6. So it's not 0. So what does that tell you? X equals 1 is not an x-intercept, which further states x minus 1 is not a factor. So let's try one more to make sure you really understand it. I'm going to test x minus 2 this time. So set it equal to 0. You get a value of 2. We're going to plug 2 into the polynomial. So same thing, you're going to go 3 bracket 2 squared minus 4 bracket 2 plus 12. You're going to evaluate it. You're going to get 8. 2 squared is 4 3s are 12. 8 plus 12, and when you add it all up, you get 0, which is perfect. That's a great thing, because what that tells you is that x equals 2 is an x-intercept. And what else it tells you is that x minus 2, if you were to bring it over, it is a factor. And if I know it's an x-intercept, which means it's a factor, then I'm able to graph it later on in the next section when we do have to graph.